Welcome to this 70th anniversary celebration of Historic Germanna. We've long called this event every year our family reunion, but tonight is also an opportunity to acknowledge the storytellers and benefactors in this room and acknowledge everybody who has chosen to come and join in this community and work with us towards sustaining the mission of giving voice to the people, the places, and the stories of historic Germanna for generations to come. So that commitment began in 1956 when a group of descendants gathered here to preserve the legacy of their ancestors. But the story itself reaches much farther back than that, to the indigenous communities, the English colonists, the indentured Germans, enslaved peoples, laborers and craftsmen, sojourners and miners, everybody whose lives intersected here. I don't know if they had to deal with the gift from Canada on a nice warm evening like this, like we are, but thank you for braving that together with us. So as historic Virginia, as Virginia and our nation celebrate the 250th anniversary of American independence, Historic Germanna offers something increasingly valuable, and that is, it reminds us that the American story was never shaped just by one person or one place alone. And on that note, celebrations like tonight don't happen on their own. They happen because dedicated volunteers and generous supporters believe deeply in Historic Germanna and its future. So I'd like to start by recognizing the host committee that helped bring this evening to life. I had the privilege of serving as co-chair along Historic Germanna Board President Keith Hoffman and Salubrious Scholar Kathy Ellis. And so we're also blessed to say that many members of our host committee are with us this evening. So rather than ask them and you to endure my reading a long list of names, I'd simply ask that all stand right now so we may recognize you and offer thanks. So host committee members, thank you. So thank you for your commitment to making this milestone celebration possible. Historic Germanna depends on the generosity of so many benefactors to sustain it. And while time doesn't permit us to recognize every single sponsor individually this evening, I encourage you to please take a moment to view the complete listing in your program, which is at your place at the table. And in particular, please join me in thanking our community underwriters, Gary Kerner and James Leathers. Thank you. And recognizing our signature partners, Madison and Catherine Brown, Richard and Phyllis Freimeyer, Keith and Laura Hoffman, Francis Kelch, Gregory and Anna May, and the Miller Firm, LLC. Thank you. And finally, our benefactors, American Battlefield Trust, Bruce and Sandra Davis, and the Northern Piedmont Community Foundation. Thank you. And truly, to every sponsor, to every donor, volunteer, and every friend represented here tonight, thank you. None of this would be possible without you. So we are also blessed that so many in public life have come to see Historic Germanna not just as a genealogical society, but as a public good for the state of Virginia and for the United States. Tonight, we are deeply honored that United States Senator Tim Kaine has a special video message to share with us. So please direct your attention to the screen for a moment, if you may.
Hey everybody, Senator Tim Kaine here in my Senate office. More than 300 years ago, Germans settled on the Rapidan River near Locust Grove, Virginia. And I want to offer my congratulations to the Historic Germanna Foundation, who for the last 70 years has been working to raise up the awareness of that history of the early German settlers of Virginia. We know a lot about the English in 1607, enslaved Africans in 1619, Spanish missionaries in the 1570s, the Scots-Irish who came to Southwest Virginia. We are this great collector of talent from everywhere all around the globe, and it's that mixture of people from virtually every corner of the earth that became the Commonwealth we recognize today. I want to thank the Germanna Foundation for doing the work to tell the story of those early German settlers and the influence that they had in that region near Locust Grove, including some of the land that the Germanna Foundation originally pulled together that was part of that settlement became part of Germanna Community College. So the work is important. Telling our stories is a way actually to connect us closer together. So I hope the 70th anniversary celebration is a really positive one.
Thank you, Senator. And now it is my privilege to invite Pastor Jim Knisley of Hebron Lutheran Church. Founded by descendants of Germanna's first German settlers, Hebron Church has stood continuously since 1740 as America's oldest Lutheran church, still serving its congregation. And as the great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson of parishioners, some of whom lay in the cemetery, this is very near and dear to my heart as well. So please raise your hand if you had an ancestor who was a parishioner of Hebron Church. Thank you. So, Pastor Jim?
Thank you for asking me to give this invocation. Let us pray. Almighty and gracious God, we assemble this evening in gratitude to you to commemorate the 70th anniversary of Germanna reunions, to recognize those whose distinguished service, leadership, and achievement have strengthened historic Germanna and the wider community. We give thanks for the vision that established this legacy, for the dedication that has sustained it, and for the promise of the work yet to come. So we ask your blessing upon tonight's honorees, upon the fellowship shared around these tables, and upon the meal that we're about to receive. May this occasion be marked by reverence, gratitude, and renewed commitment to learning, service, and the common good. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. So tonight's dinner is intentionally served family style. Our founders gathered 70 years ago, not in ballrooms, but at a reunion picnic. And so families came together to connect and to tell stories, and tonight we continue that tradition. Our caterer tonight is Cooper's Cookin'. Thank you. And like Germanna, they have a long history in this region, and some of the recipes you'll be enjoying tonight have been passed down through generations. So while you begin your meal, please enjoy this video on local food traditions, narrated by Mr. James Bruce Monroe, one of tonight's presenters and the immediate past president of the Orange County African American Historical Society. Enjoy your meal, enjoy one another, and we'll continue our celebration shortly.
In discovering the history of Orange, the train in Gordonsville is very important to the history of Gordonsville, and it opened up a lot of routes that contributed to trade and travel in the 1860s after the emancipation. It was very important to the black citizens of Gordonsville. They became entrepreneurs. They would come to the train to meet passengers, and they would serve food, fried chicken being the most famous, but they also sold ham sandwiches and fried pies along with fruit. And as the years went by, it became even more important, especially during the years of the Civil War. There were many troops that came to Gordonsville, stopped in at the Exchange Hotel. It continued up until around the 1940s, when the train started selling food on the train itself. But it didn't stop those vendors. They started selling food out of their homes. A lot of those recipes are still being used today. During those periods when they cooked, it was not only the matriarch of the family, but they included the entire family. It became family business. And those recipes were passed down to families and are very closely held. There is a very famous Gordonsville African-American family that today own a restaurant in the town of Orange, Cooper's Cooking and Catering. And they are very popular. People come from far away to sample the chicken.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I am so pleased to see all of you here tonight. I know we were a little bit nervous with the haze, but we have persevered. And so, as Lincoln said, historic Germanna may have been founded by descendants, but today, and as you can see by the people around your tables, it belongs to a much broader community, and we are thrilled about that. We are now in the third year of a strategic plan, which sees us expanding our archaeology, strengthening our education programs, deepening our community partnerships, and preserving our historic resources, and creating the experiences for every visitor who comes to us. So at this point, I'd actually really like to introduce one of our newest board members, Asa Rector Eslocker. You don't have to come up. I just wanted to point you out. And so Asa comes to us with a background in journalism, but really he's a storyteller. And so we have been so fortunate that Asa has put together a beautiful film that I think captures where we are going and where we have been. So if you will turn your attention to the screens, we will play a video that Asa has created for us. So thank you so much.
For thousands of years, people have been crossing this shallow bend in the Rapidan River, making their mark on this cultural landscape. Indigenous people, German immigrants, English colonists, conscripted soldiers, enslaved men and women who built this place with hands that history nearly forgot. This was the edge of the known world, the westernmost outpost in British America. The Germans arrived, bound by indenture, under colonial rule. They carved a living from a wild, unbroken frontier. They built Fort Germanna, forged new industry, and shaped a new life. The fort soon came down, the enchanted castle rose, then later consumed by fire and buried with time. A courthouse and colonial village rose nearby, and these too vanished from memory. Across this river, Minutemen mustered for liberty and revolution. Later, soldiers crisscrossed again into the wilderness of war. This historically significant cultural landscape stands alongside Jamestown and Williamsburg in shaping our nation's founding and westward expansion. Each era, each person, each story has formed this terrain. Each has left a mark, and some are still waiting to be discovered. So we mark two anniversaries. 250 years since our revolution, and 70 years since a group of descendants and community leaders gathered here, determined that these stories would not be lost. Today, that promise continues at historic Germanna. Archaeologists and students are still uncovering new pieces of history, one layer at a time. Visitors explore our trails, our river, our visitor center, our archaeology center, Salubria, diverse public programs, and a host of other sites in the Germanna region. Descendants and researchers add new discoveries every year. Some come searching for their family's story or a long-lost relative. Some come for a hike, a paddle, a respite in nature. And some arrive knowing nothing about Germanna at all, and they leave changed. No matter what you're looking for, you become part of it, and you can be found. The people, the places, their stories. For 70 years, historic Germanna has preserved them. We are a thriving public history site founded by descendants and open to all. But this story isn't finished. The crossing continues, and it's your turn to leave your mark. Come visit, learn, volunteer, support, and leave your legacy. The Germanna story lives on with all of us. From two First Colony Germanna descendants, 10th generation rector and 11th generation rector.
And from our Germanna shepherd.
Thank you. Your support helps to keep many Germanna stories alive for future generations.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support.
That was so great. Thank you, Asa. Thank you so much for putting that together for us. And I hope you will all agree that Asa's film truly captures something that we often say at Historic Germanna, which is that this story is still unfolding. Every day, we're discovering new chapters, preserving remarkable places, and connecting more people to this landscape and its enduring significance. We're discovering for more than a decade, Historic Germanna has partnered with Virginia Commonwealth University's archaeology program, welcoming students, interns, and researchers who are helping to uncover new pieces of our shared history. And lots of them were featured in this video. Under the leadership of our Director of Archaeology, Kelly Arford Horn, that work has expanded dramatically. It now reaches classrooms across the region. We have public exhibits, lectures, and community programs that invite everybody to become part of what we're discovering. And we're preserving. Historic preservation is much more than about saving old buildings. It's also about protecting the stories that they hold. And so at Salubria, we're completing a comprehensive historic structures report, thanks in part to Doug Harnsberger, and updating our National Register documentation. We are conducting a paint analysis, and it's revealed fascinating details about the generations who called this place home and will guide future restoration efforts. And we are connecting. Each year, more than 30,000 people experience the places that resonate with you all here tonight under Historic Germanna's stewardship. Visitors explore miles of trails. Last year, they attended more than 60 educational and cultural programs. People are discovering family connections through our genealogical database, which, thanks to Kathy Clore-Frost, now has more than 160,000 names in it. And as we celebrate our 70th anniversary, we also stand at an extraordinary moment of opportunity, an opportunity to expand our circle, to welcome new visitors, and to build new partnerships and inspire a new generation of supporters, scholars, descendants, and visitors. And for this, we depend on all of you, the people who care, the people who give, and the people who believe that history matters. And so together, we will ensure that Historic Germanna's story continues to unfold, not only for this generation, for the generations yet to come. So thank you all so much for being here.
I think Jennifer is a wonderful example of the spirit of Historic Germanna because we've always been able to advance, because individuals have stepped forward as stewards of the organization. Every single one of us is here tonight because somebody inspired us to connect with the people and the places and the stories of Historic Germanna. I know that I'm here because my grandmother inspired me to care about Historic Germanna. And we all have people like that in our lives. So tonight, we're going to recognize 3 remarkable people whose leadership has strengthened Historic Germanna and inspired all of us. And here to introduce our first honoree is Historic Germanna board member Kathy Clore-Frost.
All right. I am very honored to have been asked to introduce my dear, dear friend, Dr. Catherine Brown. I'm not that short.
Oh, shit, did that.
Since I joined Germanna, she has been an inspiration to me. We say that when we grow up, we want to be just like her. She has led a very distinguished historical career. Some of the main places she did this was at the Woodrow Wilson Library and at the Frontier Culture Museum in Staunton, Virginia, or Stanton. Did I say it right? Virginia. I know you don't pronounce it the way it's spelled. She really is a big inspiration. I'm following in her footsteps. When I joined the board, she was the chair of the Education and Publications Committee and invited me to be on this committee. And now that she has retired from the board, I am the chair of that committee. And I'm trying to live up to the image she has created for our group. And she along with her husband, Madison, started our Germany trips that we hold annually. And now another board member who couldn't be here tonight and I are the leaders of that trip. So Catherine not only brought scholarship to our group, she is a descendant herself. And, Jen wrote this really beautiful words for me to say, and I just mucked it all up. It's being very awkward here. And I'm sorry, Jen. What she wrote was much nicer, but I'm having a little trouble reading it without my reading glasses. So I apologize. Catherine, when I asked her, what do you want me to say about you? She said, well, be sure to say good things about me. And I couldn't praise her highly enough. So please welcome up my dear friend, Dr. Catherine Brown, who is our Beacon of Service Award winner. And no one could deserve it more than she does.
It's an enormous honor to me to be given this award. I can hardly say I deserve it, but I'm thrilled to have it because I was calculating I'm going to turn 86 next month. And I started working with Germanna in 1985 or 6, which was 30 years ago. So I've spent more than a third of my life doing things with and for Germanna, and they have been wonderful things. I've loved every minute of it. It's not all been fun. Not every minute has been a joy, but it has been wonderful. I've had my marvelous husband, Madison, as a partner in the effort, and we've always looked upon Germanna as what I like to call a family of families, because we may not all be related by blood, but we all are part of a family that shares a fabulous heritage. And it's just been a privilege to be a part of that. So I thank you all very much.
So thank you so much, Kathy, and congratulations again to Dr. Brown. My next presenter that I have the honor of introducing is Kathy Ellis, who is a historian, a salubrious scholar, and co-chair of our 70th Anniversary Award Celebration. And she will be introducing our next awardee, Douglas Harnsberger.
Architecture tells stories. We've been talking about stories tonight. Architecture is one of the ways that we tell them. Long after documents have faded and memories have dimmed, buildings continue to speak. Few people understand that better than Doug Harnsberger. Throughout an extraordinary career spanning nearly 5 decades, Doug has restored some of America's most treasured landmarks. We at Historic Germanna have been incredibly fortunate that someone of Doug's national stature chose to invest his remarkable talents here. Many of us first came to know Doug through the design of our visitor center. And I know we have a lot of folks tonight who are here for the first time. I'm talking about the building right here, our visitor center. It has welcomed thousands of guests over 25 years, and it tells so well the Germanna story. First of all, it's stone, a German building component that would make any German feel right at home. He's included stone. Its 5 sides represent the 5-sided fort, Fort Germanna, where our first colony ancestors lived when they first arrived. The weather vane reminds us of the voyage of our ancestors across the Atlantic. And its upstairs views into the distance suggest the endless opportunity that they found for themselves and for us, their descendants, in this new land. When we step over the threshold of that building, we cross centuries and we enter the story of Germanna. It is one, and an important one, of the many stories that, when woven together, form the really extraordinary fabric that is our home country, America. But Doug's contributions didn't stop here. His passion and precision have guided preservation planning for salubria and other historic structures, helping ensure that these unique places will endure and tell their stories for generations to come. Doug reminds us that honoring history requires not only reverence for the past, but thoughtful stewardship for the future. For his vision, generosity, and lasting impact on historic Germanna, it is my great pleasure to present the Legacy of Leadership Award to Douglas Harnsberger.
This is quite an honor, and I'm delighted to be honored that way. But I quickly want to pivot to talk a minute about something that I know because I was here when this Germanna Visitor Center was put together in 1999. I was working with Rosemarie Martin and Willie, her husband at the time. And the Martins aren't here tonight, and that's why I want to talk about them for a minute. Rosemarie, in her indefatigable energy, spent a year, and I know this because I was doing drawings at the time, but she was doing something else. She was contacting every political and important administrative office in Orange County and beyond. Indeed, Tim Kaine, I think, was part of her contacts. She developed a binder that had 200 letters in it from important politicians in Virginia that were impressed by her enthusiasm to build this center to tell this story. Like Jamestown, Germanna was not on the map, to speak of, not in the public sense. And with her determination, she was able to convince the important decision makers that an iced tea grant of $1.3 million was appropriate to build this structure behind you. And that made all the difference. I'm delighted that you're honoring me tonight for being the form giver of the building. That's a wonderful thing. But I want to stress tonight that Rosemarie, who's still with us, is responsible for putting the energy into that effort, that campaign, to make that iced tea grant successful and deliver us the building behind you. Without the money, you can have all the designs you might be able to think of, but she was the deliverance of the iced tea grant and the money, and that's what I want to honor her for tonight. And now, if you'll indulge me, the reason I brought this German broad axe up here is I'd like to talk a minute about something that is important. Jennifer talked about how important it is to be curious as an architectural historian and as an architect working on these buildings. The reference to this broad axe is that the Hebron Church in Madison was built with 3 or 4 hand tools. This was probably the primary hand tool of that construction. There were no mills, there were no sawmills. They only had a few tools and a chain. That was their measuring tape, a chain. But they built a structure that has a barrel vault in it, and it's above the flat ceiling that you see when you walk into Hebron Church. And I had the honor as a graduate student at UVA to come to Hebron in 1979. I was working on a project to measure the building for the Historic American Building Survey. And I was welcomed by Hebron Church to go up into the attic and look around. When I got up in the attic and shown my Magnite light, one of those big long black flashlights that was popular in 1979, I saw handcrafted timbers made with this device, this broad axe, that our ancestors had put together. And this wasn't just an arched ceiling. This was a decorative ceiling that had a T-shape to it. So the nave intersected the transept and it created a groin vault. This is a very sophisticated device that our ancestors came up in the wilderness to build, using 3 or 4 hand tools, a groin vault to celebrate the spirit of these worshipers of the Lutheran faith. I'm trying to communicate the awe that I felt when I looked up there, and I'm delighted that the storyline of how that Liegender Stuhl lion share vault was built goes back to 1400 in Germany. These were traditions of building that our ancestors brought because their fathers taught them how to build that way. They didn't have anything but a lot of determination and a few tools. Anyway, I think it's a marvelous story, and I have been encouraging the Hebron Church to tell that story more than it is known today, because I think that's where the signature of Hebron Church really is in that structure. So that's enough for me. I think I've exceeded my 3 minutes. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you. And again, Doug, congratulations. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Bruce Monroe, member of the Montpelier Descendants Committee and chair of the Orange County African American Historical Society's History Committee, Orange County, Virginia. And he will be introducing our next awardee, Frank Walker.
I've learned that the finest historians aren't those who know the most facts. They're the ones that inspire others to care. Frank Walker has been that kind of historians for our region. Over the course of a remarkable career as an attorney, educator, businessman, author, guide, and preservation advocate, Frank has dedicated himself to uncovering and sharing the rich histories of this region, helping people understand where they came from and why that story still matters. Those of us who have worked alongside Frank know him as something even more important, a generous collaborator. Frank understands that history belongs to everyone. His lifetime commitment has helped connect communities across Orange, Culpeper, Madison, and beyond, preserving stories that might otherwise have been lost. It is fitting that tonight we recognize someone who has spent his life helping others appreciate the remarkable history all around us. Please join me in congratulating Frank S. Walker, Jr., recipient of the Historic Lincoln Award.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you all. My wife, Bernice, also thanks you for ushering me around and not having to do it herself. I am taking the opportunity to accept this award and the recognition that comes with it on behalf of and the representative of the Friends of Germanna. By Friends of Germanna, I mean people who have no connection with this land and who have no ancestral connection with the original German settlers, but who, like those who have those connections, are keenly interested in bringing Germanna back to life. After Germanna was ground into oblivion under the heels and hooves of the passing armies during the Civil War, almost a century passed, and a tremendous amount of information about Germanna disappeared. In fact, even where was the historic heart of Germanna, Fort Germanna, and the Enchanted Castle? Stories that would tell you of Germanna's incredible importance of funneling settlers into the western areas of this country are still yet to be developed. And the Friends of Germanna, who early on were mainly in this region here, several counties around here in this region, now after about a generation and a half can be found all over the world. But what I want to do is bring some recognition to 4 of the original Friends of Germanna, and you'll get some idea of what they did and how much they thought of Germanna. there was Ulysses P. Pete Joyner, Jr., clerk, Circuit Court, Orange County, Virginia. And in his position as a keeper of the public records and in a position to communicate with other keepers of public records, he found as much Germanna information as there was available and passed it on to the other friends of Germanna. There was Apple W. Somerville, a senior Orange County attorney, who, upon being appointed a trustee of this proposed new community college right here, insisted that it be called Germanna Community College, and in explaining why, the story of Germanna began to creep back out into public memory. There's J. Randy Grimes, Jr., a meticulous engineer who applied that same mindset to his historical research. And on a day certain, Randy was here, and he took several Commonwealth of Virginia authorities, archaeologists and others, took them away from the Germanna to Community College site, took them across Route 3, and took them to this plateau that had briars and brush and bramble, but by poking around, they started coming up with colonial-era artifacts. On that day, Fort Germanna and the Enchanted Castle began to come back out of the ground to claim its rightful place on the surface of the earth. There's William H.B. Bill Thomas, historian, a charming raconteur, who, once he fully understood the Germanna story, made it his mission to come up with the funds necessary to buy the residential building lots into which the Fort Germanna and Enchanted Castle sites had been subdivided by the property's then owner. These and others like them were the first generation of friends of Germanna. Now, about a generation and a half later, friends of Germanna are all over the world. But nothing has changed in the sense of the attitude of the friends. We were with you at the start. We're with you now. Tell us, what would you like for us to do? Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in one more well-deserved round of applause for all of our extraordinary 70th anniversary honorees. And as we conclude the formal portion of our evening, we want to not only look at where historic Germanna has been, we want to look at where it's going. Our final speaker has spent a lifetime helping nonprofit organizations realize ambitious visions. Many of you know Bruce Davis through his distinguished leadership of the Germanna Community College Educational Foundation and today as chair of the board of Mary Washington Healthcare. Here at Historic Germanna, Bruce has been a devoted board member and champion, not because he is a descendant, but because he believes deeply that Germanna is one of Virginia's great historic treasures. Bruce understands that preserving history is about investing in discoveries yet to come. So please join me in welcoming Bruce Davis.
So thank you, Lincoln. Good evening, friends. As Lincoln said, I'm Bruce Davis, and it's been my honor to be a historic Germanna trustee since 2011. I'm not a Germanna descendant, just like Frank, but I'm just a Virginian who loves history and who loves a good historical challenge. And before I get going, Lincoln mentioned and Frank mentioned Germanna Community College. Shirley where are you? Shirley, stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Shirley I. Shirley is the chairperson of the board of Germanna Community College. And without your support, many, many decades ago, that college would not exist. And that college today now has 4 campuses and educates over 13,000 people a year. And it's because of you folks and your ancestors that did that. That's a remarkable accomplishment. And please don't ever forget it, because that's, to me, that is so important as a resident of this area. So that being said, tonight has been a remarkable evening. We've celebrated 70 years of preservation. We've honored extraordinary leaders. We've been reminded through Asa's beautiful film, including The German Shepherd, and through tonight's stories, that historic Germanna is unlike any other place in America. But anniversaries are not just about looking back. They are moments to decide what comes next. Historic Germanna exists today because 70 years ago, a small group of descendants and community leaders believed this place mattered enough to protect. They couldn't have possibly imagined everything archaeology, scholarship, and preservation would reveal over the next 7 decades. Now, it's our turn. As many of you know, one of the most remarkable stories in American archaeology comes from Jamestown. For more than 100 years, preservationists faithfully protected the landscape before archaeologists uncovered the original James Fort in the 1990s. For the longest time, it was believed that most of the fort was washed away by the river, but several historians and archaeologists kept looking, and they looked, and they looked, and they dug, and they dug, and they found it. That discovery fundamentally changed our understanding of America's earliest history. It happened because previous generations had the vision to preserve what they could not yet fully see. We know this landscape still holds extraordinary stories right here in Orange County. Historic Germanna stands at a similar moment. The most famous of Jamestown archaeologists was Bill Kelso. Bill spent many years as a historic Germanna trustee and stated, "I have always thought the Fort Germanna Enchanted Castle site ranks among the most significant historical archaeological sites, certainly in Virginia and arguably the nation." The establishment of both Jamestown and Germanna forts were historically pivotal. Among the greatest opportunities before us is the search for the original Fort Germanna. Jen hears me say that all the time. FTF, find the fort. The settlement was established by Governor Spotswood, where the first and second groups of German-speaking Europeans came to Virginia to establish an iron industry on the colonial frontier. You crossed that river, you took your life in your own hands back then. Finding that fort would not simply be a remarkable archaeological achievement, it would reshape how countless visitors, students, scholars, and future generations understand Virginia's colonial history. But discoveries of this magnitude don't happen by chance. They happen because people invest. They happen because people believe enough to make them possible. Tonight, I'd like to ask each of us to consider 3 simple ways we can help write Historic Germanna's next chapter. First, become involved. Whether your interests are archaeology, genealogy, education, conservation, gardening, welcoming visitors, or simply sharing your time and talents, there is a place for you at Historic Germanna. History is preserved by the people who show up. Second, become an ambassador. Tell others about this remarkable place. Bring your family. Bring your grandchildren. Invite friends. Encourage your civic organizations, schools, and neighbors to experience Germanna for themselves. And I'll go off script here. Many of you are from out of town, and many of you may have children or grandchildren that come to Washington, D.C. for a tour. Send them here as well. They would be amazed. Every first-time visitor becomes another voice in helping share our story. Finally, and tonight especially, I invite you to become an investor in Historic Germanna's future. At your place setting, you'll conveniently find a giving envelope. This evening, I hope you'll consider making a gift that is meaningful to you. Your generosity supports the archaeology that continues to uncover new discoveries. It preserves this significant American cultural landscape. It expands educational programs that inspire future generations. And it moves us closer to one Historic Germanna's greatest aspirations, to locate and interpret the original Fort Germanna itself. Find the fort, find the fort. Imagine standing here one day knowing that because of the generosity of people in this very tent, one of Virginia's most important colonial sites had finally been found and shared with the world. That is the opportunity before us. That story is not even close to being finished. And as we saw in the video earlier, we're just now crossing the bridge. For thousands of years, people have crossed that bridge and left their mark. Now it's our turn to carry the crossing forward. Thank you for believing in Historic Germanna. Thank you for supporting American history. Thank you for helping preserve its past, and thank you for investing in its future. Thank you very much.
So Bruce, thank you so much for reminding us that every generation has an opportunity and a responsibility to leave this place stronger than how we found it. So as Bruce mentioned, the envelopes are at your place setting, and in just a few minutes, members of the Historic Germanna board and staff and others will come through to collect the envelopes. So please take a moment now to consider what you could contribute from your heart for this evening. Personally, I donate to Historic Germanna because I believe that this organization is irreplaceable and invaluable. For all the things we try to do, we remain a small organization, but with your help, small and mighty. And every gift, regardless of size, is an investment in what we can do together. So thank you. So the formal portion of the evening is nearly done. On behalf of Historic Germanna's Board of Directors, on behalf of Jennifer Hurst-Wender and our entire dedicated staff, all of you here, thank you. Thank you for your friendship, for your generosity, and for taking this evening to celebrate this milestone with us. And as we think of the people, the places, and their stories, thank you for helping write Historic Germanna's next chapter. So, Those of you that bid on the silent auction, I know that we're going to have results soon, so I think we'll meet inside to see how the bidding went. And we do continue with our celebration tomorrow with the History Conference in Culpeper. So those of you coming, I look forward to seeing you there tomorrow. Good evening, gute Nacht und auf Wiedersehen. Danke.